So just a reminder from last class, we're going to start our workflow in the p5.js web editor with 3 tabs pulled up. That's the editor itself, the p5 reference list, and then the color picker. So today we're going to look at how to make our own custom function. And this is going to be good in case you want to make say you've spent some time creating your, like for your self-portrait, you spent a lot of time creating an eye and you don't want to like spend a whole lot of time creating another eye. You can just duplicate the same eye by making it into a custom function. So let's just reiterate the color mode that we talked about last week. So by default, whenever you use the fill function or the background function, p5 is going to use the RGB values within the parameters of the function. So instead of RGB, we're going to use HSB in this class, and that's hue, saturation, brightness. And again, let's just go and look at HSB color model. So the color model kind of gives you a visualization of what HSB is doing. So the hue is circling like around the color wheel. And so the variable is from 0 to 360. So if you imagine a color wheel, 0 is going to be red. And as you move across, it gets 100, 200, 300, all the way back to 360, which is red. And so if you want to change the saturation, the variables go from like 0 to 100. And so 0 being like the least saturated, 100 being the most saturated. And that's the same for brightness, 0 to 100, 0 being black, 100 being like the most vibrant. Cool. So using HSB will give us more control as we move forward. And in order to use this color mode, we have to, in our setup function, type in color mode, HSB. And now everything below it will be what it expects. So let's start today by creating a bigger canvas, maybe. I like to do at least 500. Change the color of the background to whatever you'd like. I'm gonna go for something lighter today. So, boop, copy that. Paste. Cool. Maybe I'll make the X slightly bigger just to fill the screen. Okay. So let's start drawing just like a basic shape. We'll start with the square. And the parameters of that are X, Y, and size. So this is just a review of what we went over last week. So say I want it to be in the middle. Instead of doing the math and checking the middle of 700 and middle of 500, we just do width divided by 2, height divided by 2. So no matter how big your sketch is, it'll always, the width divided by 2 and height divided by 2 will always center it. So the width is just the full width, height being the full height. So you could do like width like minus 10 and it would be like somewhere over here. So you can play with that. And then let's do the size at 100. Oh yeah, in order to center the rectangle or the square, we always have to put rect mode center. So don't forget that. Rect mode center. Cool. I like to space things out a little bit. You can do it however you'd like, but this is just makes it easier for me to see things. So I don't want to stroke on any of the things that any of the shapes that I'm drawing, so I'm going to put no stroke above. And then I want to place a circle at the top left of my square. So we could put circle. And if we want it to be at the top left, we'll just do width divided by 2. On the x, it would be minus 50, which is half of the square. Height divided by 2, let's say plus 50. And then I want it to be 50 in diameter. Oh, that's the bottom. What did I do? Minus, oh, and plus. I should do minus minus if I want it to be the top left. So we can copy and paste that. And if we want it to be at the bottom left, we'll put plus 50 for the height. And then copy that circle and paste it down here. And we want one at the upper right, so it'll be, the width would be plus 50, height plus 50. Oh, lower right again. What did I do? Minus 50? I always get that wrong. And then, so for our last, we'll just copy paste another circle and plus 50, plus 50. And there we go. So we've got circles at all 4 corners of our square, and we've created a more complex shape using simple shapes. So if this is now, let's say a square, I'll just call it a square thing. That's what I'm calling my object, a square thing. So now in order to like take this and change it all as like one object, we can create our own function. So we'll come down below the draw function, and to create your own function, you just do, you type in function and then you name it. So I'll do square thing. And just remember the syntax is that like we're going to capitalize the second word in our name. And then you have to do a parentheses and an open bracket. And this is easy to remember because you can always just see up here how it's done in the draw function and just like basically copy what it's doing. So now let's take our square thing, X, and I just controlled X on the windows to control V paste down here, and it's gone, but no worries, because all we have to do to draw it is to come back into the draw function and just type in square thing, and it should appear. Cool. So now we've made our own function with the shape that we've drawn, but we want to do more with it. Like we want to create another one, but we want to create another one that's at a different size in a different place. So in order to do that, in your function square thing, you have to write in a few parameters. So you could do X for its location on the X-axis, you can do Y for its location on the Y-axis, and we can do size because we want to change the size. So we're going to change the location and the size here. So these are all variables that you need to declare up at the top. So we declared the variable C in order to change the color last class. So we know how to create variables, and that's by saying let. This is what we did last class. Let C, and then we did let C equals 0, and we changed C. So now we're going to do, since we've got x, y, s that we need to change, we're going to do let x equals 0 because we want it to just start at 0. Let y equal 0. And then let s. All right, so we've created our custom function, and we want to make another square thing to the left or to the right or wherever. So before we do that, right now we are drawing with these integers here. We don't really have a lot of room to change that. And so just to give you an example, if I change, so our square is going to be at the x, y, and our size is going to be s now, because this is what the parameters we've put in our function. If the size of the square was originally 100 and it is now s, then what would the size of the circle have to be instead of 50? It would be s divided by 2. So for the size of anything that has 50 in it, we put s divided by 2. So now when we go to change things in the draw function, things aren't going to shift around on us like they otherwise would have. And just to give you an example, so say I come up here and I press play again. It's gone because we haven't put any parameters within the custom function. So if I wanted to put it in the center of the canvas again, width divided by 2, height divided by 2, and I wanted it to be 100, everything is good to go. But say I want to move it to the left, things are shifting around. And that's because down here, we still have the x at width divided by 2 minus 50. So it's not changing when we change it up here. So in order to fix that, we need to change every 50 to s divided by 2. Okay, so here we see we're totally using the variables that we've declared. Still there's a problem, and that has to do with the width divided by 2, height divided by 2. So we just need to come in and change that instead to what we've created, x and y.
In place of width divided by 2, height divided by 2. And press play again. And
everything can shift as it was, no changing variables. So, or actually all changing variables. So for making your own function, you name it, you create parameters that it abides by. Think about what do you want to change. And then you declare the variables up here, and you replace things. You replace the parameters down here with the variables. Okay, so now that we've got everything we want down here, our like square thing looks the way we want it to look, we can make more. So let's change this back to being in the center of the canvas. Boom. We can make another one called square thing again. And we want it to be placed at the left. So we'll do width divided by 2 minus 100, height divided by 2, and we'll make it a little bit smaller. So we'll put 50. And we've got a little one there. And then we want another one to the right of it. Instead of minus 100 for the width, we'll just put plus 100. And cool. So we've got several little square things. So say we want to place the square thing wherever our mouse location is. Well, this is really easy to do. We just call our square thing function. And instead of width divided by 2, height divided by 2, we'll do mouse x with capital X and mouse y, capital Y. And we'll make it, let's do a different size this time, so 75. Cool, so we see it appearing at the top left, but when we move our mouse, it tracks the mouse. Say we wanted to make this into more of like a paintbrush. The reason why we can't see so like basically it's drawing itself over and over again, but because we've got the background function or the background in the draw function, the background is happening over and over again in a loop, and it's covering up things that we might otherwise see. So if we want the background to only occur one time and to draw things on top of the background, just go ahead and put the background in the setup function. Okay, now the background's in the setup function. And when we come over and we move our mouse, we can see all of the different square things that are being drawn. Now, if we want to see like a little bit better, we need to edit our square thing function down at the bottom, and maybe we'll take away no strokes so that we can see the strokes on it. And ta-da! So you can create your own little custom paintbrush if you wanted, and have a bit of fun with that. Say we want to maybe we want to like erase what we've drawn. We could over here add an if statement. So it's if mouse is pressed, and for this we have to capitalize the 2 words after. So it's mouse is pressed is 3 words total, so capitalize the second 2 words. So if mouse is pressed, and just for reference, mouse is pressed, you can go and check this out here. Description: the Boolean system variable mouse is pressed is true if the mouse is pressed and false if not. So if here the mouse is pressed, we want to fill the square thing with let's see, let's make it black. So we'll just put 3 zeros. So this is going to be a fill of black. And we'll just do square thing. Or actually we'll put put what we already drew, so, right? So if mouse is pressed, fill the square thing with black. Let's see what this does. Ah! So it did work, but also in order to draw at all. So yeah, so now, so if mouse is pressed, then it will turn black, but then it doesn't go back to the way it was. So I believe in order to remedy this, we'll just have to put a fill above the square thing that we wrote previously. So we've got a square thing for mouse X, mouse Y outside of this if statement and inside of the if statement. And we've got a fill for black here, and we could put a fill for whatever you want, whatever color you want. So I'm just going to go to the color picker and select maybe like, yeah, like purple. And I should probably figure out how to do this easier, but whatever. Cool, so it's filled with purple. If we press down, if the mouse is pressed, it's black. And so we can like kind of like use it as an eraser. You could make it white too, or whatever color you'd like. And then if we let go of our mouse, it's drawn again. We can like recreate a little painting. Cool. A couple things to note here. I should have mentioned this in the beginning, but make sure you're signed in or logged in to your account. If you're not, it will not save. So you could always just like command copy, go log in and paste, but copy your code just in case before exiting. And then save your piece by titling it. So design 334C demo 2. And I also want to note that let is a keyword used to define a variable. And variables are, you know, things that can change. If you're using a constant like the number 50 that we were using, it's not going to change. So to make your workflow easier, just get used to using these variables and creating variables. So there is one more thing I want to touch on before we experiment with our self-portraits and creating functions there. Is I just want to introduce y'all briefly to the random function. And so just to give you an example, we can, what do we want to randomize? Let's randomize our size a little bit. So here we've got our 3 square things in the middle, right? And let's just, all of this mouse interaction, let's just control front slash after you've highlighted all of that. And so that will not be in play for right now. And also we got rid of the fill, so it's back to white. But if we want to randomize the size of, say, the middle one, we'll come over here to its size and put random, and inside of the parentheses of random here, it'll take 2 parameters, and it'll be like the lowest and the highest. So say I want my size to at least be 50 and at most be 200. It's going to choose a random size in between 50 and 200. And since it's in the draw function, it should happen consistently. So, so if we instead put this square thing up here in the setup function, every time you press play, it'll choose a size between 50 and 200. So this is just in a starting point to creating generative art, which is our next project. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty fun. If you just want it, if you want it to like continue being sporadic like that, you would put it down here in the draw function. Cool. So that's a bit of randomness. We'll talk more about that later. For right now, all I want y'all to worry about is just creating your own functions so that it will help you with your self-portraits. So let's open up your self-portrait and see if we can create a custom function there. So here is my start of my self-portrait that I want to do with y'all because I think it's a fun project. I have drawn my own custom shapes, which is how I'm approaching this. And I've made first my whole face, and then I'm kind of trying to do like the bigger parts and then like narrow it down to the smaller parts as I go. So say I want to take my left eyebrow that I've made here, and I've titled it left eyebrow, and I want to make another one. I'll just, instead of like doing all of this code all over again, I could copy that, or actually, let's just Control X. So down here we'll make a custom function. So function, what is it? Left eyebrow. And then if I want to change the X, Y size like we did before, we'll just put in these parameters, and then don't forget to come back up here and put in the keyword let X equals 0, let Y equals 0, and let S equal 0, 0 being the starting point of each variable. So coming back down into my custom function, I'm gonna paste the left eyebrow that I drew. This might be harder than I anticipated. In the draw function, call the function you just made, left eyebrow. Should be in the same spot, yeah. Okay. Cool, so this last little bit is gonna get a little bit more complex, but it will be good to know. So you've created your custom function of your left eyebrow, and you've put in the parameters and the variables that you made, X, Y, and S. And you have declared them up at the top as a global variable. So now back to what we did previously. So all of these constants are, all these numbers are constant, and we have to turn them into our variable in order for them to change up in the draw function when we call our function here, our left eyebrow function. So we're gonna have to put its X, Y, and S. So we'll try it off in the center first and put it at 100 for the size, just for right now. So we've got some really weird numbers here, and math is hard. So over to the left, I've got my calculator. And so basically, we just have to do x, our variable, times the number divided by the width. So 202 divided by our canvas size x being 600. Oh wait, or is it 500? Oh, it's 500. So we'll do 202 divided by 500 equals 0.404. So now we have to do x times 0.404. And that should indicate the number 202 that we had before. But now that we are using math operators instead of just a constant number, it'll like change, and like everything will be in the place that you want it to be. So 269 divided by our height, which is 600. So we're going to do y times 0.45. Let's just keep it at, actually, I'm just going to do like 3 numbers after the decimal, just to be accurate. So now I'm going to go, it's crazy right now, but now I'm going to go through like all of these curved vertex numbers, and I'm going to do the math. The number divided by width or number divided by height, I'm going to multiply it by the x and the y variable that we've created, and we'll see what happens. So slow process, but needs to be done. Cool. Okay, so we can see here already, I've got a begin shape and end shape. I kind of like had a inside fill of my left eyebrow, but you can see over here that it is in fact like the same shape that my original eyebrow was in. So we're doing something right here. If anything looks off after you've done this, just go back and make sure you did all of the math right. Save it. I'm going to do this to the inside of my left eyebrow, these little pieces that I've got here, just to add some more color and texture, I guess, to the eyebrow. Ah, this is where I made the mistake. Cool. So now my left eyebrow is totally its own function. So that took just a little bit of time, but it could be useful for y'all. You could do it to your entire face and make multiples of your face. It's just like however much time you want to put into the project. Making your own function isn't a necessity of the project at all. It's just something that it's like a tool that you can use if you'd like. So let's go up into the draw function, and now we can like totally wipe out all of this work. I just kept it there just in case I really messed something up. So now we've got this left eyebrow, and you know, let's reposition it since we still have down here the function of mouse press logging our mouse X and mouse Y. I can come over and kind of like see where I want to place it. And I want it to be, oh, and I also want to mention right here and right now that were I to change the size of my canvas, that would be a horrible mistake. So make sure you start your project with the size of the canvas that you want to stick with. And we'll figure out ways that we can manipulate this later. But for right now, just like don't change your canvas size. Have the size you want. In order to make our lives simpler, we're not going to change the size of our eyebrow. Let's just change the location. So take out the S variable that we created. And just to be consistent, we're going to take it out that global variable up top too. So S is totally gone from our sketch. Change, so if X equals 0, let's just take that away for right now. We'll have an X, we'll have a Y. And here when we draw, when we declare our left eyebrow function, in the X parameter, we'll put width, height, and there's no size. So width, height, and it's back to where we first drew it. So if we like made this into like a different number, like 700, it sort of shifts it around, but not in the way that we kind of like expect it to. Like we would expect it to be off of the page since our canvas width is only it's only 500 by 600. So these numbers are, I think it's doing 700 times 0.348, which would in this case be 243. So just to check, come over here. Yeah, that's actually about where it is. So, so say we want to put it up on the top of, in the middle of our forehead. Keep playing around with just the width height. So if we wanted to like move it to the, you know, the forehead area, we just do width plus 100, and we do height, since we're moving it up, we'll do minus 100. So it's shifting everything. It's also elongating the eyebrow. Maybe in another video, I'll try to like troubleshoot this issue. I think it just has something to do with the fact that we're using X instead of width down here. But that's a problem for another time. In any case, maybe it's not perfect, but you can mess around with your eyebrow that you've made. And I want to make another eyebrow, so I don't know why it's doing that right now. With height, so I'll have two eyebrows instead of, drawing this whole shape over again. And I want another eyebrow. I think below, but at the same width. So width, yeah, plus 100, and then height plus 100. Cool. Yeah, so we can play around with creating multiples. We could play around with the random function. So if I want to add like a random height, I'll just do random. Let's try random height and see what happens. So the random function with height inside. So it's drawing at just a random height. So if you wanted it to just happen once, you go back and do what we did before, and we'll draw it up here in the setup function. So every time it draws the left eyebrow, it's drawing it in a new random height. But if we wanted it to be drawn over the top of the face, all we need to do is take that face, and since it's not being animated or anything, this is no issue. We'll just draw it above the eyebrow in the setup function. Cool. Let's turn that alpha value to 100. I was just playing with the alpha value before. Oh no, the alpha actually is 0 to 1. So we'll put in 1 for the fill of the face. Boom. So now, yeah, every time we draw the press play on a new sketch, it's like putting the eyebrow at a random location, or a little bit more random. So say in the future you want to make the future project, you wanted to make like a generative portrait. You could start to play around with these like random values and placement. So there you have it. I know that was like a lot of information, so please message me on Discord and talk to me through like the questions for the professor channel, or just like if you wanted to make it more public, you could do that, or you could just private message me on Discord, and I will like help with any questions that you have. You can like show me your code and we'll just go over it together. It'll be really fun and cool. So yeah, in class, I'll tell you what you need to do to get ready for the next class. So I will see you later. Bye.